Welcome everybody to the latest instalment in our SmartPA Roundtable. We are joined again by the lovely ladies of SmartPA. So we have Noni, Pat, Jen and Sarra. So we are talking today all about our careers today, reflecting on our personal and professional journeys. So we're going to start with a little bit of an exercise to get us thinking way back when. And I would love for you to tell me what advice you would give to your 16-year-old self. Right, you're right at the beginning of your career. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Sarra, we'll start with you because you're right opposite me. What advice would you give to 16-year-old Sarra? Where is 16-year-old Sarra?
She is a receptionist in a marketing agency.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'd probably say that enjoy the journey. It's not all about a destination. So actually, whilst being ambitious and unstoppable are great attributes and great behaviours, it's more about enjoying each day and each part of the chapter to get to the next milestone. Would be my advice.
That's nice. What about you, Jen?
Don't listen to anyone. don't listen to people. I think it's I had a fear. I had not bigger dreams, just different dreams than what I maybe had at 20 or 25. And I think if I hadn't listened to those people, maybe I would have been more focused on what those dreams were. I had ambitions. I wanted to be an architect. I'd done really well in the things that I needed to get into uni as an architect, and I was kind of told by a number of quite close people to me that might not happen, and that being a female in particular, that probably wasn't going to happen. So I diversified and have still done very well, but I'd say don't listen. Just if you've got that ambition at 16, you've got a lot you've got a lot to add to the world, and focus on that. Try and pursue that as much as possible.
For sure. Is that a message that you give to your young son?
Definitely. He wants to be he told me last night he wants to be a zookeeper. So I've said to him he has to wait till he's 6, and then I'll get him into Five Sisters. He can go to be a zookeeper for a day.
Perfect.
So I'll support him to do that.
My eldest son has done that. It's exceptionally good.
Right? That's really fun.
Yeah, you get to muck out the foxes and feed the
Hang on,
lemurs.
team building activity. Let's go to Five Sisters.
There we go. You can actually do it at the Edinburgh Zoo as well. So Zach's done both.
What about you, Pat? What advice would you give to
Well, I
16-year-old Pat?
worked for Brian Drum and let them do anything to my hair at 16. Probably not a great idea. So probably not be quite so, whatever, and just think a bit more about what I'm doing, but also just believe in yourself. Just believe you can do anything that you want to do, Just a bit like you, don't listen.
Just don't listen.
I encourage my kids to do absolutely anything and believe that they can do anything. And I think back in my day, people were a bit more like that. You can't do that or whatever. My mum wasn't, I was lucky. But just be yourself. Follow your dreams.
Sky's the limit, no ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be unstoppable.
Success is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
And what about you, Noni? 16-year-old Noni, where I've got all kinds of advice to 16-year-old Noni is.
16-year-old Noni was embarking upon a 90s rave club career. So I was dancing a lot. It was also the beginning stages of my 20-year-long fight with illness. So actually mine's more comforting than advice per se. At the time I was hugely positive. When told I was likely not to survive my 20s, I kind of went, not having that. I was unstoppable anyway. And I suppose the only thing was, because you can have that degree of positivity, but with no evidence or proof that it's going to be okay, it's really hard to maintain that. So the only thing I would really have said was, you're on the right path. Don't give it up.
Keep going.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
just stay calm.
Yeah.
Keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
It's a nice I think there's obviously a lot of similarities in those messages.
Absolutely.
Nice one.
And what about you, Georgia? Am I allowed to ask?
Oh yeah.
Where were you at tables of
16-year-old
Georgia?
Georgia. I was at school. I was being a bit of a nerd at school. But I think mine would probably be about really trusting your gut. There were I can't even count how many times, even like at school, end of school, going into uni and then starting off my career, where you'd be in a conversation and you would think something and you'd go, oh no, don't say that, like, no. And then someone else would say it and everyone would go, oh my God, that's amazing. And you're like,
that was my idea!
Yeah, why didn't I say that?
So really just like trusting the thoughts that come into me, trusting my instinct, my judgment, and just really voicing where I am. Because so many times I'd be like, God, I could have said that.
There's a number of times I've come up with a blinder of an internet type, money winner and not done it, and then seen the patent come out for somebody else about a year later. It's really irritating.
Absolutely. We could all be millionaires.
Share your thoughts with us.
They're really
Next time you
weird.
get one, share.
They're quite odd in my case.
Well, lovely. So now we'll kind of look back over our individual careers. Jem, I'm going to come to you first. What were the key moments that have brought you to be heading up our client team here?
Key moments is, I think, probably the birth of my son was a pretty big one. I wouldn't be back in Edinburgh and at SmartPA if that wasn't the case. I was presented with a really great opportunity from a family work-life balance perspective with my mum looking after my son, so I wanted more of a balance, and that's kind of what brought me to SmartPA. I landed in telecoms originally and in sales just purely by coincidence. I was invited to kind of an X Factor style recruitment event. Well, it was kind of, split room. You were like, 10 people were taken to this room, and then like 50 were left in this room, and it was like, you've not been good enough. And thankfully I was in the room where you were good enough. But I was told from the ones that weren't so successful that's how the chat went down.
That's really stressful.
It was really stressful. So it was, so that's what took me into sales. And then, my son really, those were probably the two biggest moments for me that took me down the route that I am now. And so I'm heading up a team now, which is fantastic. I would have, I need to have achieved it all before 30. I'm sure I can say that. Sorry, guys.
Just a little well done.
All before 30, which was what I wanted to be doing before I hit 30. So it's just trying to set the next target again and again and continue to push forward. So those are the two biggest ones for me, I suppose. So a bit personal and career for me.
Were you someone who set yourself a lot of career goals, like I want to be head of a sales team by the time
I always said
happy coincidences?
I set myself a monetary target, which Sarra knows and Andrew knows, that I set myself a monetary target by the time I got to 30, which I've done. I wanted to head up a team before the age of 30. I wanted to have travelled a certain amount before even I got to 25, which I achieved. I wanted to see a lot of Europe. I wanted to see Asia. I wanted to learn languages, which I've done. I just always want to continue trying to set myself more of those personal and career-based goals. It just helps keep me focused. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Then Pat, over to you. Now, I know you used to work at Mars, which is so cool.
Not the planet, the the chocolate company. It was. I enjoyed my job. It was very client facing and a lot of travel. Driving daily. I had a very big area. It was very different to this because it was more client facing. But it was enjoyable. The targets were high, but I always achieve my targets because I'm very target driven, and I really do quite like setting myself goals as well. So I always managed to do that. And I think this is different because I love the values of SmartPA, and I think that's what attracted me to working with you guys, apart from the fact that you're all amazing.
Great people.
Yeah, I just love the actual values and almost a holistic way that we work here as well, and I just really enjoy my job. I love being based in the office. Didn't think I would because I was home based at first. And I just like it. I like, getting on the train, getting off, being near Harvey Nichols is a bonus as well.
Not so much for the bank again.
That's a bonus. If anybody's asking for directions to the office, I'm like, do you know Harvey Nichols? They're like, down there and then to the right. So love it. Love my job, loving my life at the moment.
Love that. So you don't miss the travelling at all?
Not at all, no. Nice in the summer, horrendous in the winter.
How big was your area?
I went right down to Morpeth, Newcastle, over to Lanark. It was a big area.
Yeah, it's no holiday to Newcastle.
No, absolutely. There's other shops and I managed to find them, but no. It's totally different, but loving it. And Yeah.
Love
All
that.
good.
Love that. Love my job
Yeah,
story.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, Noni, you actually used to run your own virtual assistant business, didn't you? Which is kind of how you got entangled with SmartPA.
Okay, I'll start it by saying I ran what can only be described as an exceptionally successful self-employed outfit, and there is a distinct difference, and I think that's where my story comes round to. I started my career from a PA perspective in London, high level, with a bleeper, living out of a suitcase, working for crazy CEOs. So I had quite a backstory in it anyway. I took a break based on illness, etc. I wasn't able to pursue any of that at that time. And looking down the barrel of a lifetime of being on disability benefits, psychologically I just wasn't willing to go with that. So I resorted to being a VA. With my experience, I was able to be really successful in delivery, but also in consultancy element. So I was helping businesses understand their processes, procedures, all of that sort of thing, and looking at their human and technical resources. But the reason I say it's a self-employed outfit rather than a business is because at the time my level of delivery was so high that all of my business was through referral. Didn't market, didn't know how to, didn't even have a business card, to be quite frank. So therefore no sales, no pipeline specifically. And
SmartPAs would be screaming at you.
Yeah. And also you kind of get to this breach capacity point. I was working every single hour that God sent. I was making a good living, but I had no breathing space to do any development. And what happened was the recession. And when the recession happened, the gravity of what then occurred for me was massive. I lost all my clients over time, and I was also doing their books as well, I should point out. So I kind of saw a year and a half before it happened that it was going to happen. And then I kind of found myself at this point with no pipeline, no backstop, no support, no nothing, and not the first clue about how to do it. And interesting, that's how I stumbled across SmartPA, because it was one of the various companies whose I sort of sent my CV out to. And it was a happy coincidence, because when looking at the brand itself, I realised that it had a massive personal alignment as well. And essentially what attracted me was not just that personal alignment, but the reality that had I had that in the first place, my business never would have failed. I have all the positive energy, the unstoppable nature. I was doing all of that. I had that factor of a strong brand, support network, marketing specialists, all of that is so crucial to actually guarantee your success. And that's the differential between a self-employed outfit and a business. What I was running was not a business. It was just a really good thing that worked when it worked, and when it crumbled royally.
So you don't miss being your own boss?
Well, no, but then arguably within the realms of how we work, I have the autonomy to be my own boss anyway. Yeah. And I think with my history and the backstory of what I've done, I've been given an awful lot of responsibility in areas of actually now I'm not doing that element, instead I'm advising on that element and supporting other people to do that, which is hugely...
It's a lovely journey.
It's a massive journey, but it's, I can realistically speak to people about my own journey, and I know what it's like to be on that ground level. I'm not just saying it, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I think that gives me the perfect balance of being able to be realistic about the effort that people need to put in for themselves, but undeniably the benefit of having a strong, intelligent blueprint and a brand that knows exactly what they're doing. And ultimately I head up the business support team, so I am that very resource with my team that are helping people like me to not fall, which I think is really
lovely. It must be really useful to have those real life experiences to draw on whenever you're dealing, whatever issues come up. It's like, I've been there, this is how you... Hugely,
because genuinely I would have, if I'd been a smart PA rather than, Neonian VA by herself, I wouldn't have had the problems I had. And I would have continued to increase my revenue, and I would have been exceptionally successful, as opposed to just really good at what I did and then crumbled to the elements, let's call them. But yeah.
Well, touching on the support element, obviously, Sarra, you own this fantastic company, but I know in previous careers the learning and development and support and people is something that you've really enjoyed in previous roles, so that's obviously something you've brought with you. How did you get into that space, and how did you discover that that's where your passion lay, as it were?
Into the PA space or into the training space?
Both. Yeah.
Alright, okay. So much like Jen, I had a 30 milestone, getting to 30, I wanted to have my own business. And by that point I'd had a cocktail of background by way of reception, PA, project management, e-learning project manager, project director, a whole host of things. And all throughout my journey I'd always touched and worked with great, both phenomenal PAs and secretaries, and also equally PAs and secretaries that might require a little bit of support and development. So all of that combined, and knowing desperately that I wanted to have my own business. Do I open a bar? Do I open a shop? My first business plan was a bar that only sold water, called H2O. Well, there you go.
And why didn't that business take off?
So that's
On the basis of the oxygen bar.
So
I think
absolutely. So yes, always didn't know what business I wanted to follow. And actually, when I looked back at myself, my own skill set and passion for people and supporting people and being the best part of people's day and the PA role, I thought actually this marketplace was just emerging, and I thought right. That's what we're going to do. That's my in. That's what I'm going to do. And that was it, and all those years ago, and lots of learnings and lots of mistakes. But for me, what I'm really, really, really passionate about is, making sure that people understand on both sides, PA, secretaries, EAs, assistants, as well as the people that they're supporting, the value that they contribute towards a human being or a team of people, and how that contributes towards the success of the company, the department, the organisation. And I think for me, that just lights me up when that message gets across, and that impact and value is really recognised.
You're definitely the champion of people here, aren't you? I know Pat was saying about the values and the way we live our lives here. That really stems from you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I like to keep things really simple. If you can create an environment and you can create a tribe or a group of happy people that want to be here and passionately want to be here and want to do a great job and want to make an impact, that equals happy people equals happy clients. It's really simple. Yeah. Then everyone's happy business.
Yeah.
So I'm so passionate, and the impact again. It's about impact. The impact when you can create a happy environment for people to operate in, that goes further than just the business. You take that home with you. You take that into your relationships. And for me, that's really inspiring when I can see lots of shiny eyes and happy people and people that are performing to the best of their abilities. So, yeah.
That is so true, isn't it? Because if you're in a job that you're not thriving in and you are hating, you do take it home with you. Your life seems to revolve around unhappiness at work. So you're totally right. When we're all happy at work, it does. Your whole life is positively impacted.
Absolutely, yeah.
You spend such a large chunk of your day doing
absolutely,
it. And then so about 30 of your day is at work, a third of your day is asleep, and the other third of the day is spread out in little bits. So if this big chunk in the middle when you're awake is not right,
absolutely, it's just
the rest of your life
it's the negative, force in your life. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We're gonna finish up with a little quick another exercise. I'm gonna call it a game, but fun a game. So I want you to tell me if you could go back to 1 year in your life. Keep it clean.
I promise.
What year would it be? What age were you, and why would you go back to there? We'll go for Sarra first.
1995. Left school and got my first full-time job as a receptionist in a marketing agency, and wow, I just felt fabulous. So empowered, loved my job, first step in the career ladder, I'd made it.
Love that. What about you, Jen?
It's a really tough call for me between 2011 and 2013, so not a million years ago. 2011 for me, I was living a carefree life to a degree. I was 6 months living in Spain. I was 6 months living in Germany. I had a relatively new relationship with my couple of years down the line husband. I was totally ingrained in the way of life, and it was just completely different. And I love that side of things. And then 2013 just seemed like a really manic year, but for a sense of achievement, I got the most out of it. So I bought my house, I got engaged, I got married, I started my first graduate job, I graduated uni, all in 1 year, and I bought my first car all in the first year.
Wow.
So that was a pretty big year. I lost a lot of weight, great way to lose a lot of weight, because I was probably quite stressed. My in-laws lived with me for like 4 months, so that'll probably contributed, and I was still working a 20-hour week. So time management wise, I want to go back there, and a sense of achievement definitely was a big year for me. So those years were pretty. 2013.
Yeah,
2011, 2013. Yeah, big years for me.
Blimey. What about you, Pat?
I think 82 when I kind of started working in marketing, and I was doing all the open golf and the Grand Prix at Silverstone, and just it was just
Champagne lifestyle.
yeah,
I wanted to be a Formula
absolutely
I feel like every time I talk
amazing.
to you, I'm like,
One. Learn something.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, it was great. It was just fantastic. There was just so much going on. And that's when, like, the cigarette companies sponsored all these things.
Yeah.
So to work for Marlboro or John Players, you were up there. And nowadays, it's just so taboo.
Yeah.
And rightly so. But, you know, in these days, it was just so glamorous. And, yeah, so I think, yeah.
to be honest, I quite fancy it.
Yeah. Can we go back to 82 in your life?
All good.
Please, I've got this image of you now in this kind of white leather suit, you know, the
It was
Formula One
red, it was
drivers.
red leather, but
I've
yeah.
got a bit of a Joanna Lumley image going on there.
Oh my God,
I've
Pat.
just got fur and cigarette holder.
Yeah.
So glam.
What about you, Noni?
Without a doubt, 1995-96. For a variety of reasons, not least because I looked absolutely fabulous in a pair of Calvin Klein fronts and go-go boots on a stage, but also because I could dance for 24 hours straight. I could lie on my front and get up from watching the TV without getting a sore back, and I didn't make random noises getting out of a chair. But I think more than that, because it was probably just a point in my life where I had boundless confidence, boundless,
Yeah.
and I hadn't yet been affected, let's say,
Life
by
had not
mortality and illness and all those sorts of things. So it was just pre but not that I would change the fight. The fight is what made me who I am, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
But if you're being
Pure
ideal, then just standing on a stage, completely loving life, just loving everybody, loving
A
everything.
little mix of these two would do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Is it the go-go boots that did it for you?
No, the Calvin White fries.
Calvin Klein white fries,
I think that, for sure.
Oh, and the flashing lights on your head and the white gloves. You got that.
Love that, love that. I think for me, I've probably got two. I'm a bit like Jen. 2012 for me was the year I found out I was going to St Andrews, and that was a massive part of my life, obviously, because it was the only university I ever wanted to go to. So getting to go there was a big year for me, and also this year because I got engaged. So,
Yeah.
so that's
Big
quite
life
exciting.
moment,
That's
big
quite
life
exciting.
moment.
Yeah.
I like how neither of us, or none of us, chose the
Mentioned
fact that
children.
the
Yes.
birth of our own children. I've just thought of that. I'm like,
So Dan, when you started to talk, I was thinking, we
maybe.
should have mentioned
But
that.
in fairness,
Like
I
2015's got a close, you know.
In fairness, I had both my children whilst exceptionally ill, so it carries a little bit of a trauma there.
Yeah, but you
and
didn't
right
mention
now, they're both teenagers.
Or you were
and,
perfectly happy with your child pre-existence.
they're lovely, they're awesome. They're a huge part.
Well, love that. Well, thank you very much, guys, and hopefully this has given
Thank
some
you.
food for thought for everyone looking over or towards their future career. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boom. That's a long one. That's a whole